Welcome to another episode of North London Is. If you haven't followed us before, you can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and even TikTok now. So no Premier League football this weekend, but we've still got an episode for you. We're going to be talking, thankfully, very quickly about England's performance last night. And then Perrin and I are going to be talking about our respective favourite three Spurs and Arsenal players of all time, or I say of all time since we've started following, which is quite a long time to be honest, and also our three most favourite matches following our team. So Perry, how are you doing? Good week?
I'm okay. Yeah. Obviously, the last time we kind of saw each other was just after Gabriel Jesus sent that Manchester United defender sliding into oblivion. So
I think I let you off lightly last week because I've seen United's goal that was ruled offside, and I know you're going to argue about the penalty that wasn't given. I think you've got a point there, but ultimately, United's winner in the 88th minute. I mean, I've seen it a few times, and I still don't quite understand that.
Well, I think you'll find that we've got these all recorded. I thought it was a goal, and Ten Hag's getting a lot of kind of grief for basically saying it wasn't offside, and obviously the technology proves that it was offside. But I'm not going to go into a corruption after kind of 2 minutes. But I honestly believe that you can't overturn that penalty. I had people kind of messaging me on Twitter saying it wasn't a penalty, and a few people saying it was. The majority, I think it wasn't. It was soft, but I believe they evened out. The key thing, though, from that game was that VAR once again, unfortunately, is having the biggest say, and that is a problem. Even watching England last night, and we'll come on to England quickly. When Harry Kane, your old boy, mate, what a world-class pass to Carl Walker. Me and my boys were watching it. We were thinking, "Oh, it looks like it could be offside." I mean, you don't see the defender in the middle, and So look, we'll see. We've had a rest from VAR for a week. England last night, Jules. I thought Maddison was probably our best player, and I don't think he was brilliant. I have to say. But I think
that's very generous of you. I actually thought he was quite poor.
But I didn't think anybody was good.
It's funny because it was actually quite nice watching an England game and not panicking about Kane getting an injury.
But weren't you kidding?
I didn't half panic when Maddison went down, and that looked bad. And I thought, oh, he's turned his ankle here. He's out for 6 months. And I got off the sofa. I paced around the room until he got up. I was worried, as you probably were with Saka.
How do you feel about Saka? I mean, not how you feel, but Saka gets smashed into. And the guy who was marking him, by the way, last night, plays for Everton, who happens to be our next game. I didn't think he played well. I think he needs a rest. I thought Harry Kane was playing deep, too deep. I thought Maddison, he was our only real...
What I don't understand is I don't think you really need Henderson and Rice in the middle.
Not against.
I probably would have played Foden, and if Foden was in the Henderson position when he was put through and he squared it to Maddison, I think Foden would probably have finished that.
I just think I think he's very loyal to his certain players. Henderson. I'm not saying Ramsdale should definitely be the goalkeeper, but I'm not convinced about him. Maguire against the top. If we were playing France or Portugal, even Germany, who, by the way, got walloped 4-1 last night.
They lost 4-1, didn't they? Yeah. Wow.
I worry about England because we've got such a good team, potentially. Rice, Bellingham, maybe stroke Maddison, Foden in the midfield. Up front, Saka, Kane, Rashford, Grealish. It's a great side. The fullbacks, Reece James will come back fit. Chilwell. John Stones will come back into the side, I should imagine. But he's got this loyalty to Henderson and Maguire that I think could end up meaning we win it again. And we've got to be one favourites, surely one of the favourites there.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Maddison's been playing very well. Bellingham's been playing very well. Everyone's been playing well this season. Yet you put them all together, and it was a disappointing performance last night. But probably mixed feelings when Ukraine went one up. One of your boys.
Yeah, I mean, from a footballing perspective, an attacking, defensive, midfielding, whatever you want to say, Zinchenko's world class. The issue with Zinchenko is when you're 2-1 up at Anfield or Old Trafford or the Etihad. I'm not going to say your ground, but in those big games, do you have Zinchenko as your left back? And we got rid of Kieran Tierney. He's gone on loan to, that's my problem with Zinchenko. We need to force the game. Zinchenko is one of the best players in the world. He is a proper footballer. But my issue with him is, I think he's suspect. But international break is always a fall. We've got another round of. I saw Romero got injured. I saw, Gabriel made his.
Yeah.
He was.
It's just nerve-wracking. You're actually more nervous your players getting injured than you are with the result.
100%. You just want them all back. I said to you in a couple of podcasts, we see Aubameyang was on the airport floor in Gabon. It was just. But you know what? Look, hopefully everybody comes back next weekend. You've obviously got your freebie game again. They've given you this.
Here we go. Meanwhile, last year you maybe you lost in the last minute against Gray, who scored for Everton, and he's off to Saudi Arabia. So you're playing it then without him. So
I have to say, where we have got a little bit lucky, although it makes it maybe a bit more unlucky for the game the following week. I don't know if you know who Arsenal are playing the following week, but we've got Everton.
Sleepless nights.
We've got Everton on the Sunday, and then we've got Eindhoven on the Wednesday. So you're going to have kind of played Sheffield United on the Saturday, put your feet up, and watch Arsenal for 2 games against Everton and Eindhoven.
Yeah, listen, playing in Europe, so you're not used to it, but you have to get used to that if you're playing in the big boys league. We'll come back. We'll come back to next week's fixtures towards the end of the episode.
Exactly.
Just finishing off on England. Obviously, we went one down, but the Spurs connection got us back into the game. Harry Kane, delightful pass, finding another extra in Carl Walker to make it 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, they were probably the two. Walker was definitely the best player on the pitch. He's just incredible. I think he's probably the best right back in the world.
It's incredible that he's still got his pace at his age. I mean, he's as fast as he was when he was at Spurs 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, he's phenomenal, brilliant. City, I'm upset they didn't lose him to Bayern because he's a proper player. He's a winner. Mudryk kept him in his get the entire game, and I think the best they did was leave you boys, wasn't it? Let's be honest. Even you can admit that. As much as it paid. Yeah, he's gone there. He's won everything, and he's there. He's from up north, isn't he? He's Sheffield boy, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he left us, and I think since he's left, we've spent about 130 odd million trying to replace him. And
he's about 100. He's won about 130 trophies.
Yeah, but it was a poor decision. Listen, we sold him because we got 50 million, which 5-6 years ago.
Money for that.
Yeah, 5-6 years ago, it was very good money. It's good money now, but even then. But listen, there's no doubt we've missed Walker. It's a position we've never really, filled. But anyway, we were talking during the week with no Premier League football. What were we going to talk about? We were pretty confident we wouldn't have a whole show talking about the England game, and luckily, as things turned out, we were right. So we thought we'd have a bit of fun and talk about, first of all, our, you've been supporting Arsenal similar sort of time, about 50 odd years, like I have with Spurs. Our 3 greatest players that we've enjoyed watching. So I'm going to ask you first, countdown from 3 down to your favourite. Who would you say your third?
So my 3 greatest Arsenal players, very, very difficult. I mean, literally really, really difficult. And to be honest, I could probably pick 10. So
Really?
I could. Yeah, I could probably pick about 10. It's so hard to choose, in terms of who I enjoyed watching. But I mean, I'd even go as far as to say, I'm being serious, after 4 games, I absolutely love Declan Rice already. I love him. Absolutely love watching him. But I can't really put him in because, it's 4 games. So number 3, my captain, Mr. Tony Adams. Absolute legend. Came into the side at 17 years old, captained us to the league title at Anfield in '89. One of the greatest nights in footballing history. Got done for drink driving. The only kind of footballer that ever got put into prison for doing that. Came out, turned his career around, lengthened his career. What he's doing off the pitch now is amazing as well. On the pitch,
fair credit. Credit where credit's due.
The pitch, unbelievable.
We've got a mutual friend who's connected. With what he's doing, and that is full credit. I've got putting rivalry aside. There are things that are more important than football, and what he's doing.
Yeah, it's amazing. But just from a captain's point of view, he was we haven't got away today, but I always remember in the season we won the double in '98, it was snowing at Blackburn. We were 4-0 up and we let in a goal. Remy Gard kind of turned his back and Blackburn scored. I can't remember who it was. Probably might have been Chris Sutton. No, I think he had gone there by then. Anyway, and he went mad. He went mad at defender. Like, it was 4-0. We were 4-0 up, coasting. It was snowing and we won the game 4-1. Nelka was incredible. And I just remember looking at Adams and thinking, my God, we are going to win the double, because that guy, he just absolute winner. So he's at number 3. Number 2, am I doing my 3-2-1? Yeah?
Yeah, you can do your 3-2-1.
So number 2, I think he's probably one of the greatest players of all time, is Mr. Dennis Bergkamp. There's not much you can say about Dennis. If he could have flown,
wasn't he?
Yeah, probably. I don't know whether that's true. Dennis Law, wasn't it? Dennis Law. He was after. No, I think he.
I think he apparently had a Hoddle top when he was growing up.
He liked Hoddle, but dirty, nasty, strong, left foot, right foot, in the air, volley, passing, absolutely everything. Just world class. And I believe that the signing of Dennis Bergkamp, which was under Bruce Rioch, changed the kind of what's gone on in the last kind of 25, 30 years for Arsenal's cut. In 2 years' time, I think we bought him in 1995. So he was just unbelievable, and Wenger got the best out of him. Number 1, I mean, come on. He's the number 1 player that's ever played in this country. The number 1, he's won the World Cup, the European Cup, the Champions League with Barcelona, not with us, the league with us, the Invincible, FA Cup. He's won it all. Titi Henry, you can't. Anybody who said, there'll be other people that will say Liam Brady and maybe Dennis Bergkamp and Tony Adams. A few people might say Robert Pires. I've got a few. My kids loved Alexis Sanchez, Robin Van Persie. My kids do. Going back further, Charlie George, but Thierry Henry. Unbelievable. Had it all. And the other thing about Thierry Henry is I do think he loves Arsenal.
You've got to hand it to him, don't you?
Very good. Very funny. I like that. I think the one thing I'm a little bit nervous about with Henry, I'm not sure how much he likes Arteta, to be honest. I've noticed a couple of niggles when I've read some articles and when I see him, but The guy loves Arsenal. I actually was lucky enough to meet him once. Very, very nice guy. And that's my 3-2-1.
No, fair enough.
Let's move on. There's no point talking about Spurs because, pretty irrelevant.
Well, it's funny you say that because though obviously we've had some really shit teams over the years, one thing about Spurs, we've always had the odd very, very good player that's worth going to the lane to watch. I mean, we've had Ozzy, Ginola, Klinsmann, Lineker, Waddle, Hoddle. I mean, we've had some greats. So it's actually harder than I thought it would be to narrow it down to 3. But I think third, I would say Gareth Bale. He was phenomenal for a couple of seasons before he got his move to Real Madrid, and obviously he won 4 Champions Leagues at Real Madrid. But he was one guy who, just because of his pure pace and power, he won many games single-handedly, and he won many games in the last minute by just curling the ball into the corner like he did against West Ham at Upton Park, which I'll never forget. But he also scored. I remember a game at Christmas against Norwich where he scored 2 goals, but I think it was his first goal. He picked the ball up in his own half and he just ran and ran. And the strange thing is, as he was running and getting nearer towards the goal, he was getting faster. He wasn't slowing up. And then he just dinked it over the keeper. And, my youngest really doesn't really remember him, but I remember taking him, to a few games that season. And he was lucky enough with me when he scored his last goal against Southampton, last game of the season. So I was pleased that he actually saw him, in the flesh, because I'm
very happy that you sold him.
Yeah, I mean, he was just. I mean, listen, we've talked about it on previous pods. Power and pace worries oppositions, fans, and players, and he had both of them. He was.
I'm very happy you sold him.
Number 2. It's difficult when you say, who's your greatest, because there's been players that have played better for Spurs over a longer period of time. But for a one-off season, Paul Gascoigne, the 91 season, he single-handedly won us the FA Cup. I mean, he nearly lost us the FA Cup in the final. But, he was just, I mean, the goals he scored against Oxford, against you in the semi-final, against Portsmouth.
County? Was it County?
Notts County. In the quarters. I mean, he did some things. I mean, I remember him scoring free kicks and just, Peter Shilton just didn't die for them. He was just phenomenal. And it's such a shame that, he got that injury in the final and he was never really the same player after that. I know he went on to Lazio and Rangers and Middlesbrough and what have you.
No, he was in 1990, the season before that, and 1991, he was one of the best players in Europe. Phenomenal player. Worst thing he ever did was go to Spurs and Venables. Could have gone to Manchester United and gone to Alex Ferguson. He would have sorted him out. But the worst thing he ever did was go to Spurs. Or I have to say, unbelievable footballer. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Phenomenal. And my number 1, he's going to be a bit controversial, and I think certain people are going to be surprised I haven't put a Mr. Harry Kane there.
I know who
and
it is.
I haven't, and that's not because I'm still raw that he's gone to Munich in the summer. But I first started going to Spurs in the 80s, and for me, Glenn Hoddle was just, he didn't score bad goals, but it wasn't obviously just the goals he scored. I mean, against Forest, against United, against the chip at Vicarage Road, against Watford. He won us, 2 FA Cups. He was just a phenomenal player. What he could do with a football was just unbelievable. And I remember, I had my Footy with Dad podcast, and I was lucky enough to interview Scott Minto and Matt Le Tissier. And obviously there's a bit of history between Matt Le Tissier and Glenn Hoddle. But, both of them said what he could do in training.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
can do. And
No, I think
I've just, his last game, I was at his last game against Oxford, when he literally walked through the Oxford defence and he rounded the keeper and he just, that was his farewell, signature off to the Spurs fans. It was just, it was just a fitting way to end. He should have played for England. I don't think anyone. Sorry?
All 3 players were British.
Yeah. I mean, listen, as I said, you could put Klinsmann in there, you could put Ginola in there, Ozzy Ardili, same sort of era as Hoddle.
Harry Kane. Harry Kane, you could have put in
Harry Kane. The 3 players I mentioned really, really excite me when they got the ball. I mean, Kane's phenomenal, and it's very difficult not to put him in my top 3. And I was oohing and ahhing between him and Hoddle, I must be honest. But Kane scored some great goals, and obviously, we won games because of Kane. But I don't think Kane ever sort of took a match by the scruff of the neck and won it single-handedly.
He didn't. But he wasn't.
And the other players, probably did, to be honest.
Gascoigne, and certainly not necessarily Hoddle didn't have that much pace. He still glided past. Gascoigne and Bale, they used to walk past players. They're kind of like Henry. They used to, but all phenomenal. But very nice 6 players, I think we've chosen.
Yeah, no, listen, it's funny. If you ask me, because it's always opposition supporters, it's always good to get their perception on Arsenal. If you had asked me, I would have said Henry as well. I don't know who you would have said.
For Spurs, probably Colin Calderwood. Either Colin Calderwood, Steve Sedgley, or Dean Austin. I'm not sure. Right. Anyway, so those are our players. We're going on to matches now. Yeah, famous matches.
Yeah, let's quickly go through the matches.
I'm conscious of the time. So I'm going to give you my 3. Is these my 3 greatest or my 3 most memorable?
Yeah, most memorable, because mine weren't probably the greatest, but for personal reasons.
Number 3 was my first ever game with my dad in September 1977. We beat QPR 1-0. Matt McDonald scored, and my life changed forever. Okay, I was only 7 years old, but that was it for me. I was obsessed. I never since that day have not known an Arsenal result within, I think, an hour. And we're going back to the 70s when there was no internet, very little radio, very little TV. Just obsessed. I'd even call the newspapers to get the result if I was abroad. It changed my life. So that one, 1977, Arsenal QPR 0, a dull game, but we won. And then that was hard. Seriously, that was hard. But I have to say, 1989 is in number 2 because I doubt whether we will beat that. To win the league in the last second, the emotion of everything, what had gone on that season with Hillsborough was horrendous for Liverpool, and we walked out. We gave flowers to all sorts, and when we scored, I think time stood still. That will, to win the league like that was unbelievable. But in number 1, purely because of my kids, was when Arsenal won the FA Cup, the Champions League. When Arsenal won the FA Cup in 2020, when Aubameyang scored the goal during COVID time. That's my favourite ever because it was with my children. It was the first.
No, fair enough.
Yeah, I'd ever properly seen us with a trophy. In 2017, my eldest was with me, but my youngest was kind of running around. That was unbelievable. The only downside about 2020 is the crowd, obviously. And there could have been so many others because trophies. I'm looking forward to listen to your trophy-winning matches, Jules. So take it away. Your 3.
Well, my 3 is. The third at number 3 wasn't actually a game I was at, but as you say, football is, some people will say it's all about trophies, but for me, it's also about memories. And it was watching the second leg at home. I actually did get offered a ticket for Ajax, but I wanted to go with my boy and I couldn't get two. So we decided to watch it at home.
Can we move on? Can we move on, please?
And no, because I think it's important I set the scene. And obviously, at half time, we were 2-0 down on the night, 3-0 down on aggregate. And it was just, awful. And, I wasn't even sure I wanted to watch the second half, thinking it could actually get embarrassing. But Lucas, scored two, but it still wasn't enough because, we needed a third. And it was deep into injury time. Ajax fans were singing. The keeper, was wasting time. I think he may have even got booked for wasting time. And then, as you say, the world stopped as the ball fell into Lucas's path, and he scored literally in the last second. And I remember falling onto the floor. My oldest, who wasn't really madly into football those days, was watching it upstairs. He came running down, came into my man cave, and he thought I was having a heart attack on the floor. I was speechless. Jake was right.
Can we move on? Can we move on, please?
and it was just a memory that, it was probably, it felt like the last second, but there was a couple minutes after that play resumed that, I was convinced, because nothing happens good to Spurs. I was convinced that Ajax would probably score and we'd go out. But I think, even though I wasn't there, memories with both my boys in the end.
So that's number three.
Number two, it wouldn't be Spurs if I didn't say a match. One of my favourite match was a match that we actually lost. It was 4-3 against Manchester City in the Champions League. And I was there. I went up to Manchester, and it was just, a mad first 10 minutes. They scored early on, Sterling, to cancel out our 1-0 home leg win. Son then got 2 goals in like 3 minutes. They then equalised. They then scored, so they went into half-time 3-2. Quite early on, I think, in the second half, they made it 4-2. Which was 4-3 on aggregate. And then Llorente did this most phenomenal bullet header from a corner. People think he punched it in. But you know what? I don't care. Maybe
you get away with that.
And you know what's lovely? We celebrated. Then it went to VAR. They gave it to us. So we had a double whammy. And then, emotions. Sterling scored in the last minute, and I remember kicking the chair in front of me so hard my foot still hurts. And we were walking down the steps. Pep was sliding on the touchline. City, were going mad. The fans were everywhere, and I just, yet again, I had another 4-hour drive back to London, and then suddenly, oh no, it's going to VAR. And then VAR disallowed it, and oh my God, those were scenes. I don't know. I lost weight for about 5 minutes in the way end. I mean, it's just.
It was he was way offside as well, which was annoying.
But listen, you don't know that in the stand and the emotion of it. And
listen, you got lucky. Phenomenal. You got lucky with Llorente's goal again. You got lucky. Anyway, number one.
Number one. I'm not just saying this because I'm doing the pod with you, but it's got to be the 91 FA Cup semi-final. A certain Paul Gascoigne. Oh, what a free kick! I mean, he even said, since the game, he was surprised that Seaman, even attempted to go for it. And, we were the underdogs that day. You had a blinding team. You won the league, and we stopped you doing the double. But we went 2-0 up. We went 2-0 up quite early on. And then I think just before half-time, Smith got the goal back to make it 2-1. And you just think, no, as a Spurs supporter, it's going to be a long, painful second half. And I don't remember too much of the second half, but I do remember when Lineker got the ball, everyone around me stood up, and I thought nothing's going to happen. And I didn't stand up, and then I just heard the roar. And I think, to beat the Arsenal at Wembley in the semi-final, to stop you doing the double, that was just brilliant. Sorry.
And that's been a lovely episode of North London. So that's good. So yeah, listen, 3 great games. I think 6 great games. Obviously, you didn't know much about the Arsenal QPR one in 1997, but there you go. So yeah, no, it's good to know. It's good to remember the old times and some of the old players. So before we go, are we talking about next week?
Yeah, next week we play Sheffield United at home. We should win. I've seen a bit of Sheffield United this season. They, I mean, I'm still raw from last year going up to Sheffield midweek and then beating us in the cup. And also it was Poch's last game for us at home, which was a boring 1-1 draw, and then he got sacked shortly after that. But I've seen Sheffield this season against Man City, and they battled hard. And I thought they were a bit unlucky at home to Everton last week when Pickford made an unbelievable double save in the last minute. Sheffield United should have scored that.
Nothing more than 5-0 as a minimum.
What, for Everton against
is a decent result.
Listen, I think we should win. I'll be very disappointed.
What annoys me is that you've got Sheffield United, Burnley, Bournemouth. There's the 3 games before you play us, so you're going to go to us. Yeah. Such confidence.
Yeah, but then we've got Liverpool after. I mean, listen, we've both played United. We've both beaten United. I mean, you struggled.
I have to say, the games against United, both saying United are getting a lot of stick. Your goalkeeper made a couple of good saves against United, Vicario, and they didn't play well against you. They didn't play well against us. They'll be all right, United. They'll have a striker now playing, Højlund. They'll get a few players back from injury. They'll be okay. We've got Everton away. Very much depends on our attitude. Hopefully it'll be spot on. Then we'll win, but we don't like it there. And it's 4:30 on a Sunday under the lights, Goodison Park. Their new player all of a sudden, Beto or whatever his name is, and suddenly should win. But we got we're both coming back from international breaks, and you don't want to go away from home. He's also got to have one eye on Eindhoven on the Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think obviously the big. Go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say we've got Eindhoven on the Wednesday, and obviously I was just wondering what your European game is next week.
That's very good, and getting a bit boring now about the European digs, but you would think that we should win the league because we're not in Europe, but then you weren't in Europe and you ended up 8th, so it doesn't always work out that way.
It doesn't. We've gone 8th, 5th, 2nd, so I'm hoping we're now going to win it. We'll come on that maybe, but listen, I think both hard games. And I think, we haven't got much time left, but I think the season started obviously very well for Spurs. I don't think you guys thought you'd be on 10 for 12. Madison's been one of the players of the season.
I mean, what's been, for Spurs very quickly, just, a review of 4 games, is a little bit hard. But, we've obviously lost Kane the day before the season. We've got a new manager. We've got a new keeper. We've got a new centre-back in Van der Ven, Udogie, Madison, Basuma and Sarr like new players because Conte never played them last year. So that's 7 new sort of first teamers. The fixtures have been quite nice. I'll be honest, but you never know what you were going to get at Burnley away, United at home, Brentford away. So I wouldn't say Arsenal have had the hardest fixtures either. Let's be honest, this season. I think we're both on the same amount of points, 10 from 12. It's setting up nicely, for the North London derby on the 24th of September. I think next week from my point of view, hopefully be talking about a Spurs victory against Sheffield United, and you'll probably be talking. I'm sure you will be talking about an Arsenal victory. But a lot of our show next week will be starting the build up to the North London derby.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Arsenal, I think there's been a lot of question marks. Obviously, our seasons with this whole Kai Havertz situation. It'll be interesting to see what he does. A lot of people saying he'll score or open his account in North London derby. I wouldn't be playing him. I think you'll come, and I think you'll come to attack, and I think that will suit us if you do attack.
Well, yeah, I'm a bit. Listen, we'll talk about it more next week. I don't think Ange will stop the way he plays football, which is very attacking. And it'd be interesting against better teams. You know, are they going to pick us off?
Well, United could have scored against you in that first half a couple of times.
Yeah. The first half an hour against United, we were poor.
Vicario played well.
The first few minutes against Burnley. And even Bournemouth, first 10-15 minutes of the second half had a couple of chances. So
I think for you guys, it's going to be you've got no pressure on you at the moment. I'll be exerting pressure on you, but you've got no pressure, and it's going well. You've had your Fulham little hiccup against Fulham, which I know you kind of had a rant about, and I agreed with you last week. Arsenal, Declan Rice, phenomenal signing. Just hope he stays fit. Timber, just gutted that he's out until could be April. And Havertz, to me, not looking good. But, we've got both of us, long season. I mean, we've got the Champions League. We've got Brentford in the League Cup. I don't know who we're going to play in that game. That's a hard game in the League Cup. But I don't like losing. I want to win everything. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be exciting. So we'll see.
Have a good week, and no doubt we'll battle on next week for another episode of North London Is. Have a good week.
Have a good week, mate.